So maybe you're an older man, somewhere in your 40s, 50s, or even 60s. You've experienced life, built your world, and faced your share of heartbreaks. Then, out of nowhere, a young woman appears, energetic, lively, a bit wild, maybe a little mysterious, and for some reason, she pays you real attention. Not just casual small talk, but genuine interest. Suddenly, whether you want to admit it or not, you start to feel a spark of life you haven't felt in a long time. It feels good, it feels thrilling, and this is exactly where many men unknowingly make critical errors. Here's what happens when an older man is attracted to a younger woman. He forgets that he's already whole. He forgets that all the years, struggles, and wisdom he's gained are his true strengths. Instead, caught in the excitement, he begins to change, softening his edges, shrinking himself, trying to fit into her world rather than standing firm in his own. That's when the balance shifts. She stops seeing a man and starts seeing just a guy who's trying too hard to impress, be cool, and win her over. And just like that, the attraction fades. This video isn't about judging anyone, it's about clarity. It's about helping you protect your dignity, your manhood, and your self-respect when faced with temptation, admiration, or even genuine connection. We'll explore what to avoid when dealing with a younger woman, and how a stoic, grounded man, fully in control of himself, handles this differently. These are not just tips for dating. These are strategies for life. So if you're done feeling lost, manipulated, or off track by someone who hasn't lived half your life yet, this video will be the wake-up call you didn't know you needed. Stay with me, because by the end, you'll understand exactly why men stumble and how you can rise above by doing less, not more. 1. Don't try to match her youth. You're not meant to be her equal. One of the biggest mistakes older men make with younger women is trying to shrink themselves to fit into her world, copying how she talks, how she dresses, or pretending to vibe with her music, shows, or slang. It usually starts with good intentions, a genuine effort to relate. But what it actually does is strip away the very thing that made you stand out to her in the first place. The moment you start acting like you're on her level, she stops viewing you as the strong, stable, experienced man and starts seeing you as someone chasing approval. And even if you think you're subtle about it, she feels it. Especially younger women. They're incredibly tuned in to authenticity. When an older guy starts acting young just to impress, it doesn't come off as confident. It comes off as insecure. Here's the truth. Your age isn't something to hide. It's your advantage. You've been through life. You've taken losses and come back stronger. You carry something she hasn't developed yet. Presence. That calm, grounded energy that only comes from experience. That's what pulls her in. Not your knowledge of TikTok trends or Netflix characters. But many older men get trapped in the idea that they need to stay current, to stay relevant, when in reality your greatest asset is your stillness, your ability to remain centered while her youthful energy buzzes around you. That's what makes you attractive. Here's a simple example. Say you're out with her and she starts gushing about some 23-year-old influencer. You could fake it, laugh along, act like you know them, even scroll through your phone like you're a fan too. Or you could smile and say, "I'm not really into that kind of stuff. I prefer conversations that last longer than a day." That one line, that's poise, that's distinction, that's masculine mystery. And that's exactly what throws her off, in a good way, because you're not trying to blend in. You're showing her that you're built differently. And that paradox? The less you try to fit in, the more magnetic you become. 2. Don't be her emotional dumping ground. Another common mistake older men make with younger women is becoming their emotional container, taking on all their mess, moods, and past wounds under the belief that it's supportive. It often begins innocently. She opens up, maybe about a toxic ex, an absent parent, or her journey of healing. And because you're older and emotionally seasoned, you listen, you care, you want to be that safe space she never had. You might even believe that your maturity sets you apart from the younger guys she's used to. But over time, you realize you're no longer her man. You've become her therapist, her late-night emergency call, her emotional safety net. And deep down, you start to think that this emotional closeness will lead to love, that if you're the one who understands her pain, she'll stay. But in reality, what's happening isn't romantic, it's emotional outsourcing. You see, younger women are often drawn to older men for their stability. But if you confuse that role with being her emotional caretaker, you'll end up trapped in a frustrating dynamic, one that feels intimate but lacks attraction. You'll become the guy she vents to about other guys. You'll get her emotional baggage, but not her desire. Why? Because a Stoic man doesn't attach himself to chaos just to feel useful. He brings stability by staying centered. He listens without absorbing. He supports without being consumed. There's a key difference between being emotionally grounded and being emotionally soaked. One is strength, the other is neediness in disguise. Let's say she calls you in tears over her latest failed talking stage. Instead of rushing in to fix, advise, or comfort her, you calmly say, "Sounds like a heavy situation. Hope you give yourself time to process it." That one sentence shows her you're present, but not trapped. You're aware, but not reactive. That's what real masculine presence looks like. Stoicism doesn't mean being heartless. It means protecting your peace while still being human. A man in control of his inner world won't let someone else's emotional storm throw him off course, no matter how attractive that storm may seem. 3. Don't chase her approval. There's a subtle but dangerous trap older men fall into with younger women, seeking validation. It doesn't always come across as needy. Sometimes it shows up as giving too many compliments, explaining yourself too much, trying to prove you're different, or constantly looking for signs that she still likes you. But beneath all of that is the same insecure question, am I good enough for you? And the second she senses that energy, everything shifts, because no matter how wise or experienced you are, once you start orbiting around her opinion of you, she holds the power. You've given up your position. You've made her the prize. And women, especially young ones, can feel that imbalance in a heartbeat. They might not say it, but they pick up on it instantly. A Stoic man doesn't beg to be noticed. He doesn't need a daily dose of approval to feel good about himself. His sense of worth is already established. If she's interested, cool. If not, he keeps moving. That self-contained confidence, it's magnetic. While most men try to impress her with tricks and attention-seeking antics, he just stays still. He doesn't need to prove anything. And that calm, quiet self-assurance, that's rare. And what's rare always holds power. Imagine she leaves your message on read. A man craving validation might send another message, a meme, or something snarky like, "Guess you're too busy." But the grounded man? He doesn't react at all. Not out of ego, but because he's not chasing anything. He's not playing social games, and he's certainly not waiting to be chosen. He already chose himself. And that's the shift. When you stop obsessing over her response, she starts wondering why you're different, why you're not chasing like the rest. That's the secret. When you stop running after her attention, you become the one she pays attention to. 4. Don't try to impress. Lead with presence. There's a powerful distinction that many men overlook, especially older men pursuing younger women, and that is the difference between trying to impress and simply leading. Instead of showing up confidently, they fall into the trap of performance. They rattle off their career milestones, talk about luxury cars, international vacations, or how well connected they are. On the surface, it might seem like it's working, but more often, it doesn't land. Because women, especially younger ones, don't fall for facts. They fall for feelings. And when a man is trying to impress, what she feels is neediness, masked as achievement. Impressing screams, "Notice me, validate me." But leading? Leading says, "Here's the direction I'm moving. You're free to walk beside me, if it fits your path." One is approval-seeking, the other is self-directed. Here's the paradox most men miss. The harder you try to highlight your value, the more you signal that you're unsure of it. Confidence doesn't need to convince, it just is. A Stoic man doesn't prove himself with flash. He reveals himself through consistency. He doesn't put on a show, he shows up. And that's what younger women really notice. Not the list of achievements, but the emotional depth behind the man. A girl still figuring out her identity doesn't need fireworks. She needs someone whose energy doesn't flicker when things get uncertain. And that comes from being grounded, not grand. Imagine this scenario. You're on a dinner date with her. Instead of trying to name drop or flex your lifestyle, you calmly order the food, acknowledge the server with presence, and guide the flow of conversation with quiet strength. You ask real questions, not to appear deep, but because you're genuinely present and interested in her perspective. That's what real leadership looks like. Not dominance, not control, but steady guidance. And after the night ends, what she remembers isn't the car you drove or the money in your account. It's the way she felt safe, seen, and steady around you. Impressing is always about external validation. Leading is internal certainty. And when you lead with that kind of calm confidence, she follows, not because she's convinced, but because she's inspired. 5. Don't jump ahead with fantasies. Too soon, one of the most common missteps older men make with younger women is mentally fast-forwarding the relationship before anything solid has even formed. You go on a few dates, exchange some meaningful talks, maybe things get physical, and suddenly you're picturing a future with her. You imagine living together, introducing her to your social circle, planning trips, maybe even guiding her personal growth. It all feels exciting, even hopeful. But the truth? You're not connecting with who she really is. You're bonding with an imagined version of her. And often this rush comes from an inner void, a longing for meaning, for companionship, for someone to fill a quiet space in your life. What's happening here isn't love, it's projection. A grounded man, especially one living by Stoic values, knows better than to build castles in the sky. Stoicism teaches us to deal with the world as it is, not how we wish it to be. When you let your mind run ahead into fantasy, you lose your grip on the present. You start ignoring warning signs, skipping over crucial truths, and investing emotionally in an illusion. And when that illusion shatters, when she turns out to be different from the version in your head, it doesn't just sting, it devastates. But that pain wasn't caused by her. It was caused by your own unrealistic expectations. A strong man resists that trap. He chooses to respond to what's real, not what's imagined. Here's a relatable example. You've been getting to know her for a few weeks. She's fun, affectionate, and says all the right things. You catch yourself wondering if she'd make a good partner long-term, or how she'd fit in with your family. That's your cue to pause. Bring yourself back. Remind yourself that you're still in the early chapters. You're not seeing the whole picture. You're only seeing the highlight reel. And when a man confuses potential for proof, he blinds himself. But a man with inner clarity doesn't get ahead of reality. He remains engaged but unattached. He watches, listens, and learns who she is over time, not who he hopes she might be. That's how real connection is built, not through daydreams, but through presence and patience. 6. Don't let yourself be her backup plan or emotional crutch. One of the most difficult spots an older man can end up in with a younger woman is being her fallback, the reliable, comfortable option she leans on when her other choices fail. It usually starts subtly. She reaches out when she's lonely. She wants to talk when her romantic drama falls apart. She tells you you're her safe space, and because you're mature, calm, and emotionally stable, you step into that role, thinking maybe with time, she'll realize your worth. But here's the truth. If you're just a stand-in while she chases emotional roller coasters elsewhere, you're not building a bond. You're being used. You're not the man she's choosing. You're the one she settles for when everything else collapses. A grounded man doesn't settle for being a pit stop on someone else's emotional journey. He doesn't stay where he's only halfway wanted. A Stoic man sees the imbalance and removes himself without fanfare. No arguments, no begging for attention, just a quiet, strong decision. If I'm not your clear choice, then I won't be an option at all. And in that silence lies strength. Because every time you allow yourself to be her comfort zone while she explores chaos elsewhere, you give away your power. You diminish your value. You wait in the shadows, hoping to be seen, while she never stops looking past you. Picture this. She cancels your dinner plans last minute, but later that night she calls you just to talk about her feelings. Or she vents about a guy who's treating her poorly, then tells you, "I always feel calm after we talk. You're different." Don't mistake that for closeness. That's not love. It's convenience. You're not the man who excites her. You're the one who helps her recover from being hurt by someone else. And while that might feel meaningful in the short term, it leads nowhere. A man with self-worth doesn't revolve around someone else's instability. He builds his own foundation, so solid and full that he doesn't need to be picked. He chooses. And if what's in front of him doesn't match his peace or purpose, he leaves. Quietly, completely, and without regret. 7. Never sacrifice your purpose for her presence. One of the most damaging mistakes a man, especially one with years of experience, can make is abandoning his purpose in the name of romance. When the woman is young, energetic, emotionally intense, and unpredictable, it becomes all too easy to get swept up. Suddenly, you're skipping workouts because she wants a lazy morning. You're rescheduling important calls because she had a bad day and needs to talk. You start compromising your structure, slowing down your grind, easing up on your discipline, just to be more available. And without even realizing it, your life begins to revolve around hers. The fire you once had, it dims. Your ambition, put on hold. Your identity as a man on a mission slowly fades. But here's the truth. A grounded man doesn't trade his purpose for proximity. A Stoic man knows that his mission is the backbone of who he is. It's not optional, it's not flexible, it's non-negotiable. When you abandon it, even for someone you care about deeply, you lose more than progress. You lose the essence of what makes you magnetic in the first place, because no woman, no matter how much she claims to care, truly respects a man who puts her above his path. She may appreciate the attention at first, but over time, she starts seeing you as someone who can be swayed, someone who's lost his edge. Picture two men, one who says, "I'm in the middle of building something. I'll call you later," And another who drops everything the moment she calls, rearranges his life to be at her side, and always says yes. Who do you think she admires more? The first man shows discipline, focus, and strength. The second man shows dependence. And women can feel that. They may never say it out loud, but they sense when a man is chasing validation instead of chasing vision. The reality is this: if a woman truly values you, she won't ask you to give up your mission. She'll support it. She'll respect the boundaries you set around your time, your goals, and your path. But if you bend and break for her at every turn, you don't become more loved. You become less respected. A man who has lost his compass trying to win someone's attention ends up wandering through a life that no longer feels like his own. A Stoic man stays the course. He doesn't pause his journey to prove his worth. He walks forward with clarity, discipline, and purpose, regardless of who's watching, following, or fading away. So let's pause and face the truth, brother. Really let it sink in. Being an older man around a younger woman isn't some kind of burden or setback. It's a responsibility. You bring maturity, steadiness, and grounded energy that she's still learning to cultivate. That doesn't make you superior, it makes you seasoned. And with that comes a deeper kind of wisdom, one that doesn't chase approval, doesn't perform to impress, and doesn't collapse into emotional chaos just to feel needed. You don't twist yourself to fit into her reality. You don't become her unpaid counselor, her emotional crutch, or her backup plan. You don't abandon your core for attention. And you absolutely don't sideline your mission just to be liked by someone who hasn't even figured herself out yet. You lead, not by force, not by trying, but by being grounded. You don't move to prove anything. You stand in your center, calm, collected, and clear, not because you're pretending to be alpha, but because you simply are. That's your natural state when you stop bending. Here's the part I want you to remember above all. Women are naturally attracted to men who are already complete. Not desperate, not chasing, not drowning in emotion. A Stoic man never asks, "How do I keep her?" He asks, "Does she belong in the life I'm building?" That's the shift, the mental pivot that turns passive men into grounded leaders. And if you've ever been the guy who gave too much, waited too long, or lost yourself trying to win love, know this: you're not broken, you're not weak, you're human. But that ends now. You don't need to upgrade, overthink, or overgive. You just need to return to center. Find your stillness. Build your life. Let her rise to meet you, or let her walk away. Either way, you remain unmoved, untangled, unshaken.